Hi, welcome to English Tips and Tricks.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're zeroing in on something really fundamental, I think, to our well-being and, well, our productivity too, our daily routines.
hmm
You can almost think of them as these silent architects of our days, shaping how we feel, what we get done, often without us really consciously realizing it.
It's such a fascinating area because, yeah, from the moment we wake up, literally until we fall asleep, we're sort of engaged in this dance of patterns and habits.
Right.
And these aren't just, random things we do. They're the small, regular, sometimes very intentional steps that define our day's rhythm.
Exactly.
And our sources today give us a really close look at how some distinct routines play out in real lives. And crucially, what underlying principles maybe make them effective for balance and control.
Absolutely. So our mission with this deep dive isn't just to describe these routines, but to really unpack the shared elements, what makes them powerful. And maybe most importantly, why finding the rhythm that works best for you is just so vital. We'll be pulling out specific details, some key insights from the source material that frame these daily choices.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning of the day. Our sources, they illuminate two pretty distinct morning routines. One's a student, the other is someone with a job that needs an early start.
Yeah.
What jumps out immediately in how their days kick off?
Well, what's compelling here is how both individuals seem to set a very intentional tone right from the very first moments, even though they have different wake-up times.
Okay.
So the student typically starts around 7 a.m., and they seem to prioritize a sort of gentle transition into the day.
Right, easing into it.
Exactly. They describe stretching and taking a few deep breaths before even getting out of bed, almost like a little pre-flight check for the body.
Yeah, I like that.
Then it's off to the bathroom, brushing teeth, washing their face. A refreshing act that sort of signals, okay, the active day is starting now.
Okay, and then the job professional, a bit earlier you said.
Yeah, a bit earlier, around 6:30 a.m. And their first move is different. It's drinking a glass of water.
Ah, hydration.
Right. Our sources really highlight that as a critical step for immediate hydration, especially, after hours of sleep.
Makes sense.
And that's followed quickly by the same kind of routine, brushing teeth, washing their face. It seems like a really consistent signal to the body, like, okay, time to shift gears.
Interesting. So, similar actions, but maybe slightly different priorities right at the start, gentle waking versus immediate hydration.
Precisely. And then both transition to breakfast. Seems like it's non-negotiable for sustained energy in both cases.
Okay, what does breakfast look like?
Well, the student often chooses something lighter, like oatmeal or maybe toast. The emphasis seems to be on steady energy release for classes
Right.
rather than, a heavy meal that might cause a slump later.
Right, avoid that 10 a.m. crash.
Exactly. The professional's breakfast, on the other hand, is often a bit more substantial. Maybe eggs with toast, or sometimes a nutrient-dense smoothie.
Okay.
And after breakfast, there's another divergence. The professional tends to dedicate time right then to checking emails, reviewing their to-do list.
Getting organized.
Yeah, the sources frame it as a proactive way to kind of front-load their day with organization.
Mm-hmm.
The student, meanwhile, usually checks their class schedule.
Mm-hmm.
More about mentally preparing, visualizing the day ahead. But, this proactive review of the day's tasks, whether it's academic or professional, that seems to be a strong common thread.
That's really insightful how these early choices aren't just about what they do, but how they're strategically prepping their minds and bodies.
Yeah,
Like you said, that morning stretch isn't just physical, it's about easing into consciousness.
right.
And the professional hydrating immediately, that's about jumpstarting metabolism, cognitive function. They're not just actions, they're foundational habits.
Exactly. Foundational is a good word for it.
Okay, so moving from that sort of careful start in the morning, the afternoon then presents its own set of challenges, right? It's often the busiest time.
Definitely.
Our sources show how both the student and the professional navigate these hours, trying to maintain momentum and energy. What strategies emerge there?
Well, a really compelling commonality comes through in their afternoon strategies. Both individuals seem to place a really high premium on managing their mental energy to sustain focus.
Okay.
So the student, for example, finds that afternoons are often when their concentration peaks. So they dedicate this prime time to classes or, deep study sessions.
Makes sense. Use that peak time.
Right. And they approach tasks one step at a time, deliberately breaking down bigger assignments. And for those long study sessions, they consciously take short breaks, maybe stretch, move around a bit.
The breaks again?
Yeah, and the sources really emphasize this for avoiding that cognitive fatigue and just keeping the mind agile.
And it's fascinating, like you said, the job professional kind of echoes this, but in a different context. Their afternoons might be packed with meetings, demanding project work, yet they also make a point of taking short breaks. Even just a few minutes away from the desk, maybe stretch, grab a healthy snack. It helps them recharge.
Exactly. And the sources explain that recharge isn't just about physical energy. It's also about giving the brain a moment to sort of diffuse and maybe consolidate information before diving back in.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not just downtime, it's productive downtime in a way.
Precisely.
Huh.
And central to sustaining this whole afternoon drive is lunch.
Right, the fuel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The student typically opts for a late lunch sandwich, something like that, specifically to avoid that post-meal sluggish feeling that can really derail focus.
Yeah, the food coma.
Right. The professional's lunch, usually around noon, is also typically a healthy, energy-sustaining choice,
Right.
like a quinoa salad or maybe a turkey sandwich. This deliberate choice, lean proteins, complex carbs, it's key, as our sources note, for stabilizing blood sugar and preventing that common mid-afternoon energy slump.
That dreaded slump.
Yeah. And then after lunch, both individuals seem to strategically tackle their most significant tasks.
Okay.
The student might work on bigger assignments. The professional focuses on key projects. They sort of aim to knock them out while their energy and focus are still relatively high.
So they're using that post-lunch energy boost wisely.
Yeah, it's like a purposeful effort to regroup after lunch and then deploy their peak energy where it counts the most.
It really seems the key isn't just what they do, but the intention behind it. Like they're actively trying to preempt that, 3 p.m. wall that hits so many of us.
Absolutely.
These focused work blocks, combined with those intentional breaks to recharge, seem to be the bedrock of afternoon productivity for both of them.
That's a great way to put it. Bedrock.
Okay, so with the afternoon's productive stretch hopefully behind them, the focus naturally shifts then to winding down.
The transition.
Exactly. Let's explore how these individuals transition into evening mode, preparing for rest and recovery.
Yeah, evenings are clearly carved out for de-stressing and preparing for restorative sleep. You see that in both routines.
How so?
Well, after dinner, the student consistently takes maybe a short walk or does some light stretching.
Okay.
And our sources highlight this as a way to actively unwind, to release the day's sort of accumulated tension and gently signal to the body that the active part of the day is concluding.
A conscious signal.
Yeah. And the job professional also makes time for a deliberate wind down. Could be listening to music, maybe going for a walk. They seem to recognize it's essential for mental decompression.
So active relaxation in a way.
Right. It's not just collapsing on the couch necessarily, though maybe that happens too. But there's an intentional step.
Got it. And what about dinner itself?
Dinner habits vary a bit, but they remain quite simple, generally pretty light.
Okay.
The student's dinner is often quick and easy pasta with vegetables, maybe a rice bowl, emphasizing convenience, ease of digestion probably.
Makes sense, yeah.
The professional usually eats around 7 p.m., also keeping it simple. Options like grilled salmon with veggies or maybe a stir-fry with rice. So it appears a lighter meal, not too close to bedtime, is kind of a common thread.
Right, avoiding that heavy feeling before sleep.
Exactly. And then there's this interesting shared ritual, the evening routine of brushing teeth and washing the face.
Which we also saw in the morning.
We did, and both individuals actually describe this as a kind of, quote, reset button after a long day.
A reset button, I like that.
Yeah. It's more than just hygiene, right? It's like a powerful ritual that helps them visually and physically transition into a state of relaxation. It marks the boundary between the active day and rest.
That's a really nice framing of it. Okay, so teeth brushed, face washed. What are the final steps before bed?
Well, the student often reads a book or maybe drinks a cup of herbal tea.
Okay, classic wind down activities.
Right. And this deliberate avoidance of screens seems crucial for both of them. The blue light, the mental stimulation from phones or computers can really disrupt sleep.
Big topic these days.
Huge. The professional also opts for reading or maybe listening to music and aims for a pretty consistent bedtime, around 10 p.m., specifically to ensure a good night's sleep.
Consistency seems key.
Very key. The student also prioritizes a consistent bedtime, maybe slightly later around 10:30 p.m., but explicitly links it in the source material to how they feel the next day.
So they see the direct benefit.
Yeah. The sources really underscore how consistent sleep hygiene profoundly impacts overall well-being and next-day performance.
It's really remarkable how these seemingly small, almost automatic acts like brushing teeth or having that cup of herbal tea are actually deliberate cues, the signals to the body and mind telling them it's time to wind down, as you said. They're sort of building this bridge from activity to rest, optimizing for the next day's energy and focus.
That's exactly it. It's building that bridge. And what we've seen across all these routines, really from morning right through to evening, are the conscious strategic choices people make, integrating these small regular actions. And they aren't just about, completing tasks on a list. They're about actively managing energy, focus, and recovery,
Yeah.
which ultimately contributes pretty significantly to their overall well-being and consistent productivity.
This deep dive truly highlights that, yeah, whether you're navigating the demands of work or maybe intense study or frankly just trying to maintain some order in your day, having a routine that's genuinely tailored for you seems absolutely key to feeling, well, in control.
Yeah, that sense of control is huge.
And it's not merely about ticking boxes or being productive 24/7. It's also about intentionally creating those moments to relax, to recharge, and to consistently take care of yourself.
Absolutely. And maybe if we connect this to the bigger picture, it raises kind of an important question, I think.
Okay.
Just as these specific routines structure our physical day for balance and productivity, how can the conscious creation of your own daily habits also structure your pursuit of, say, knowledge or personal growth?
Interesting extension.
Perhaps the rhythm of our days isn't just about what we do, but how those consistent patterns actually empower us to continually learn, adapt, maybe even transform.
So the routine as a framework for growth, not just getting through the day.
Exactly. So maybe something for you to think about is, what stands out to you about how a consciously built routine could shape not just your day, but maybe your entire journey of discovery?